Thank you all for joining us today. Today, we're really happy to have Lynn Smith here from LexisNexis. She is a training consultant with LexisNexis, and she has a law degree and a master's degree in library studies. She's worked for LexisNexis for over 20 years and has conducted many training webinars for students. So she's going to be presenting on Nexis Uni today and showing us all about how to conduct legal research in Nexis Uni. So take it away, Lynn. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. I really appreciate it. My name is Lynn Smith, and I'm the individual that will be conducting this webinar. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. And what I'm going to be talking about today is legal research. But please keep in mind that on this product, you will have access to over 16,000 sources, not just legal information, but also business information, company and financial information. And I'm going to go ahead and give a plug that I will be doing a webinar tomorrow addressing our business content. We have a lot of news information. This is not just a US product. This is also a global product. So we have sources from all around the world. But today, what we're going to do is talk about legal research. And what we're going to do is we're going to start doing some very, very simple stuff. And then we're going to build up. So what we're going to start with first is we're going to start with this main search box. And I like to tell people all the time, this main search box is powerful. And the reason why I like to tell people it is powerful is because you can perform a number of different tasks using this main search box. Now, just so you know, I was born and raised in the state of Missouri. And if you know Missouri's nickname, it is the show me state. So I always like to joke that I'm going to show you what I'm telling you. I believe I'm an honest person, but I believe it also, is more powerful when I say it, but more importantly, when I show it. So we're going to start, like I said, doing some very simple things, and then we're going to work our way up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to retrieve some legal documents if you have a citation, a legal citation. So I'm going to type in a legal citation for a case. And before I hit my enter, I'm just going to explain a few things to you all. The first thing I want you to be aware of is right now I have typed in proper Blue Book citation. In the legal world, when we go to cite, we use proper Blue Book citation. We do not use MLA, Chicago, or APA. We use Blue Book citation. And for those of you that are on this call that may not be familiar with a legal citation for a case, a legal citation for a case consists of 3 parts. And you need all 3 parts. The first part is the volume. The middle part is the Blue Book abbreviation for the book. And in the legal world, we call that book a reporter. Cases, decisions, opinions, basically interchangeable terminology, are published in a reporter. That's what we call that book. And the third and final part, which is also a number, is the page. But what I want you to be aware of is that it is not necessary to use proper Blue Book citation. I like to say we can be a little lackadaisical. So if you notice, I got rid of the spaces, I got rid of the punctuation, that U and that S are not in uppercase. Basically, this is the farthest from proper Blue Book as you can get. I'm going to go ahead and click on my search. And what the system's going to do, it's going to take us right here to the full text of this case, decision, opinion, even though I did not use proper Blue Book citation. So just want you to be aware, not necessary. Excuse me. At this time, I'm going to take this opportunity to point out some great features you're going to have on your cases. The first great feature I want you to be aware of is the case summary. And the case summary is just that, a summary of the case. It will give you the procedural history, an overview of the legal facts and the legal issues and the outcome. What was the court's decision? What was the court's holding? So on your cases, you will see that nice case summary. I'm going to go down a little bit more, and on your cases, you're going to see head notes. And in the legal world, we love head notes for two primary reasons. Number one, head notes will allow you to quickly and easily to identify the different legal topics, the different legal issues that are being addressed in this particular case. Most people don't think about it like this, but 90% of the time, a case, a decision, an opinion is dealing with more than one legal topic, more than one legal issue. So one of the things I need for you to understand about the head notes is that head notes are an enhancement. They're not part of the court's actual decision, actual opinion. And what that means is you may never, ever, ever cite to a head note. You can only cite to the court's actual decision, actual opinion. So as you're looking at your head note, if you come across a head note, let's say you like, for example, head note number 4, all you got to do is click on that downward arrow, and that would quickly and easily take you to the court's actual decision, opinion, where that particular legal topic is being addressed. So yes, now you can cite. So if I want to go back to my head notes, I just click on the up arrow. So you use those arrows. That's how you toggle back and forth between your head notes and the court's actual decision, actual opinion. So I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to click on my Nexis Uni. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to retrieve a federal statute. So I'm going to type in 4 space USC. Now, just so you know, federal statutes may be found in 3 different publications. The United States Code, USC, which is the official publication. It is the official publication because it is published by our federal government printing office. Federal statutes can also be found in the United States Code Annotated, USCA, and then the United States Code Service, USCS. All 3 publications have the same information, the law, but the USC is the official one. USCA, USCS, or unofficial. So now, a federal statute consists also of 3 parts, but the 3 parts are very different than a case, a decision. The first part is the title, not the volume, but the title. And of course, the middle part is the abbreviation for the book. And the third and final part is the section, not the page, but the section. Because for statutes, you can have multiple statutes on one page if you were looking at the books. And once again, it is not necessary to use proper Blue Book citation. And it does not matter which abbreviation you use, whether you use USC, USCA, or USCS, the system knows what you're talking about. Now, I don't know how many of you on this call know this, but statutes are codified. They are codified. You may have heard of codification. Basically, what that means is that we organize statutes by topics, by subjects. Now, one thing I do want you to be aware of, when you're using Nexis Uni, you're going to the United States Code Service because we own the United States Code Service. But like I said, the law is the same in all 3 publications. Now, as I was beginning to explain, statutes are codified. That means that we put the laws together by topics, by subject. Now, on your statutes or any information that is codified, and other information that is codified are regulations. Regulations are also codified. They're organized by topics, by subject. So on your statutes and on your regulations, you're going to see this previous and next. And right now we're in what? Title 4, flag and seal, seat of government and the states. We're in chapter 1. We're currently looking at section 8, respect for flag. So if I click on next, it's going to take me to the next section within Title IV, flags and seal, seat of government, the states. I'm still in Chapter 1, but now I'm looking at Section 9. If I click on next again, still in my Title 4, but now I'm looking at Section 10. If I click next one more time, I have moved from Chapter 1 now to Chapter 2, which is the seal. So basically that previous and that next, I like to tell people, it gives you the capability to turn, if you want to think about it, the pages online, but you're going section by section. Because statutes are codified, because they're codified, there's a relationship between the information. I also want to point out over here to the left, this table of contents. And this is giving me a breakdown of all the different sections that fall within Chapter 1, the flag. So what's nice is if you want to quickly go from Section 10 to Section 2, yes, I can click previous until I get to Section 2, or I can simply click over here on that hypertext link to Section 2, and that would quickly and easily take me to that section. And these features are only going to be available on information that is codified, statutes and regulations. I'm going to go back to my default page, my home page. And now I want you to be aware that you can go out and retrieve a case if you know the name of the case. So I'm going to start typing Brown. And as I'm typing Brown, the system is trying to anticipate my needs. For those of you that are in Ohio, it's like, okay, is that individual doing research on the Cleveland? One of your football team is, the Browns. But no, we're actually, I put Cleveland, let me put it correctly. But no, at this point in time, we're using this search box to go out and find cases, more importantly, Brown versus the Board of Education. So what the system's trying to do is trying to assist you. It said, okay, Lynn, you're typing Brown. We don't know you're going to do a search on Browns in Cleveland, but just in case, we want to help you out. We want to assist you. Here are some sources with Brown in the name. Here are some documents, meaning legal documents. Here are some companies. I'm just going to click on that click on Brown versus the Board of Education. And once I click on it, system will go out and search that specific case. And here we have that Brown versus the Board of Education. Just like if I did start typing Plessy, because I'm thinking of Plessy v. Ferguson. Just select Plessy v. Ferguson, and it will automatically take us right there to that case, the full text. So, like I said before, we've started off doing some very simple stuff, easy stuff that one can do when it comes to legal research. And that is going out and getting a legal document. If you know the name of if you know the legal citation, as we saw, it's not necessary to type in proper Blue Book citation, but also if you know the name of the case, just start typing that in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next level. And that is, let's say that, you've been given an assignment and somebody wants you to do research on capital punishment. Well, the thing is, guess what? You do not have a citation. You need to go out and find cases that address capital punishment, legal, documents that address capital punishment. So that's what we're going to discuss right now, what you need to do. Now, the first thing I always tell individuals to do is when you're doing research, even though I said, you know what, you need to go find documents, the assignment reads to find cases dealing with capital punishment, it's always a good idea to take a step back, take a moment or two and go, even though this assignment is asking for you to find cases or for me to find cases on capital punishment, are there other search terms that I can use that means the exact same thing? Yes. So for us to do research, not only are we going to type in capital punishment, we know that the court could also use death row, death sentence, death penalty. Let's say that you're doing research on free speech. Well, not only are you going to type in free speech, but you're also going to type in freedom of speech, because we know those are interchangeable terminology. Let's say you were doing some research on medical malpractice that involves a doctor. Well, every document may not refer to a doctor as a doctor. They may refer to that doctor as a physician or a surgeon. So it's always a good thing to take a moment and say, yes, even though my assignment mentions capital punishment, and just so you know, if you're looking for an exact phrase, put that exact phrase in quotation marks. I'm going to use my or connector to say, look for one or the other. So I can do my death penalty or death row or death sentence. So if you're looking for an exact phrase, put it in quotation marks. I'm going to use my and connector. I can spell that word and out, or I can use the ampersand. I want you to be aware you have flexibility in Constitution. Okay. I want you to be aware that the date default for the product is previous 2 years, but in the pull down, you can do all available dates. We provide you with some additional date ranges, and then you can create your own, but I'm going to go with all available dates. I want you to be aware that the default for searching is all content types. Remember what I said? I said on this product, not only will you have access to legal information, but company, financial, business information, news information. So at this time, I'm going to click on that pull down and we see we can specify. I can do legal. And once again, I've given some options. I can look at cases, legislations, law reviews, administrative materials. For cases, we remember this is a global product. We have cases not just from the United States, but other jurisdictions. So I can select US. And at this time, I can search all US cases, or I can specify a jurisdiction. Because one of the things you have to remember about legal in the legal world is that we are governed by jurisdictions. Meaning for those of you that are on this call, if you're in Ohio, what's mandatory for you when you go to do legal research is the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court is mandatory on all of us if we, whether we like it or not. Ohio is part of the Sixth Circuit. So you have to follow Ohio. And then, of course, Ohio cases. Well, for those students that are on this call that are from California, well, what's mandatory for California is the United States Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit, because California is part of the Ninth Circuit, and California. Basically, what that means is that what happens in the Sixth Circuit has no bearing on California because California is part of the Ninth Circuit. And what happens in the Ninth Circuit has no bearing on Ohio because you're part of the Sixth Circuit. Just like what happens in California does not affect Ohio, and what happens in Ohio does not affect California. You can say to the court, you can say to the Sixth Circuit, look at the Ninth Circuit, but it's not mandatory for the Sixth Circuit. Just like California can say, let's look at Ohio, but it's not mandatory. So keep in mind that in the legal world, when we do research, there's certain jurisdictions that you must follow. So if I wanted to, I can say, yes, do the United States Supreme Court, the Sixth Circuit, and of course, Ohio. I can specify these jurisdictions before I even conduct us. Oops, didn't need to do that one. Let me put in the Sixth Circuit again. So I can specify these jurisdictions before I even click on the search. But I'm going to go ahead and clear these because I want to search all US cases because I want to explain something to you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my search. Just so you know, there are no document retrieval limitations for this product. So if you conduct a search and that search brings back, excuse me, 25,805 documents, yes, you may view all 25,805 documents. So please be aware, there are no document retrieval limitations. On this product, if you page down and you look to the left side, you're going to see what we like to call our post-search filtering options. These are the post-search filtering options for cases. Just so you know, the post-search filtering options will vary. They will vary by source. So what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to click on court. And what this will do is this will give us a breakdown of all the different jurisdictions we retrieve cases from and how many. So if I wanted to see cases from the Sixth Circuit, all I got to do is click on that Sixth Circuit. But more importantly, if I want to see cases from not only the Sixth Circuit, but also from the United States Supreme Court in Ohio, all I simply have to do is click on select multiple. So what I want you to be aware of is that you can select one option or you can select multiple options. You can mix and match. So right now I'm going to select the United States Supreme Court, the Sixth Circuit, and Ohio. So I could have done this as we saw before I conducted my search, but I also want you to be aware that you can also do it once you get to your search results. A lot of flexibility. So right now I only have cases from the Supreme Court, Sixth Circuit, and Ohio. As you can see, I'm going to go into a document. And the thing that I want to point out is number one, the all terms. This is going to give us a breakdown of all the different search terms in the document and how many times. So as you can see, you've got your death penalty, death sentence, capital punishment, death row. They're all mentioned in this document. If you notice, death penalty is mentioned the most, then capital punishment. So once again, you got to sit there and think about, what other search terms can mean the exact same thing. Just quickly, just want to point out, as I said before, you're going to have your nice case summary along with your head notes. But I want to talk about citation management tools. On this product, you're going to have two, citation management tools. On all of your documents up at the top, you're going to see a box that reads export citation. If I click on that export citation, we ask, what is your selected citation format? And in your pull down, you have APA, Blue Book, Chicago, and MLA. Pick the appropriate one. You may highlight, copy, and paste, or copy to a clipboard. I'm going to go back to my results list. And I just want to take this moment to point out your delivery options. You may print, you may email, you may download, you may send information to a cloud. But I want to point out this icon of the 3 books, which is currently grayed out. As soon as I select a document, tag a document, it is now active. This is your second citation management tool. You have 2 options. Number 1, you can export bibliographical information to a third-party citation tool, such as EndNotes, CitePro, RefWorks, etc. I'm pointing out that et cetera, because I want you to be aware that you're not limited to these four. We're just trying to give you an idea of what we mean by a third-party citation tool. And then, of course, you have the common citation formats. And once again, you have APA, Blue Book, Chicago, and MLA. Blue Book is how one cites in the legal world. View on screen. And there you go. You can highlight, copy, and paste. All right. So just want you to be aware that you do have those two citation management tools. I'm going to go back to my default page, my home page. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at statutes. I told you that statutes are codified, that they're organized by topics. So one of the great ways to take a look at a statute, or the best way to search statutes, is because statutes are codified, they're put together by topics, is what we like to call browsing the table of content. So I'm just going to start typing Ohio. And as I'm typing Ohio statutes, remember what I said. I said the system is trying to be helpful. It's trying to assist you. So it's saying, okay, we have the pages, Ohio revised code annotated. Even though I'm typing statutes, the system knows that statutes and code are one and the same. Now, let me just go back for 2 seconds, and I'm going to start typing in Ohio cases. And I want to point out, you do not see anything in front of the letter I. We do. This little symbol, just want you to be aware of, that means that you can browse the table of content, that this information is organized by content, by subject. So if I click on it, it's going to give me a breakdown of the table of content, how the statutes are organized in the state of Ohio. Now, one of the things you have to understand is, as I tell people all the time, just because you know how your state does something does not mean that the other 49 states and the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico and Guam will do it the same way. It will vary. So because statutes are codified, they're put together by topics. What's great about that is that 90% of the time when you're doing research, you know you're looking for information on a particular topic or subject. And because statutes are codified, they're organized by topics and subjects, we can browse through the table of content. So right now, I want to find the laws for Ohio dealing with marriage. So just kind of looking at my different titles, I'm looking for something that is related to marriage. And here I see your title 31, domestic relations. So if I click on that box with the plus sign in front of that title 31, that will expand. And this will give me all of the different chapters. So I see marriage, I see husband and wife, divorce, alimony, annulment, dissolution of marriage, those concepts that are related to domestic relations. I want to see what laws, what statutes you have for marriage. So all I got to do is click on this box with the plus sign and it will expand. So basically, in a matter of 2 clicks, we have all of the statutes for your state that deals with marriage. Now, we see prohibition. And this is probably telling us giving us the law for your state that tells us which marriages are prohibited. So this way, you know, we can see this. So I just kind of want you to be aware that what's nice, is that this will allow you to find, you know, basically you're browsing through your table of content. And so this way, if I wanted to, you know, let's say we've got, you know, something that involves, you know, I'm assuming a minor because it's, you know, consent by juvenile court. If we click on that, you know, If both person to be joined in marriage are the age of 17 years, they may be joined in marriage only if the juvenile court has filed a consent. So, keep in mind that, we have, most states have age limits. So basically what's going on is that this is one of those things that if you're under the age of majority, the age of majority being 18, your state is like, no, we need to get the courts involved, things like that. So this way, I just want you to be aware that you have that browsing capability. And so we're going to do this on the federal level, same concept. Going to go back, but we're going to tie it into something that we saw earlier. Going to start typing in my United States Code. And here we see United States Code Service, Title 1 through 54. Click on my table of content. So I'm going to go into that Title 4. Click on my box with the plus sign. And now I'm going to go into that Chapter 1. We've seen this before, but more importantly, that's Section 8, respect for the flag. So we saw this statute before when we typed in that Title 4, United States Code, Section 8. And remember when we did the went to the next, it took us to that Section 9. Let's go back. Back again. So on our table of content, we see how we were just going to the next section in the hierarchy, how these statutes are organized. I'm going to go back into my respect for flag. And one of the things I just want you to be aware of is that one of the great things about doing legal research online is the capability to link to related information. So cases will cite to other cases. Cases may cite to statutes. Statutes may give you case law that interprets that statute, helps with the interpretation. If we want to read any of these, they're hypertext links. All we have to do is click on that hypertext link, and it would take us to that related information. And once again, if we're reading this case, and we notice that the same case is being cited over and over, click on that hypertext link. So one of the great things about doing legal research is the capability to link to related information, related documents. I'm going to go back to my default page. And now I'm going to go to my guided search. And with the guided search, we're trying to give a little bit more help, a little bit more assistance. And we asked the initial question of what are you interested in, and how you answer this question will determine your options. So if I selected cases, you see my options have changed. But more importantly, we have a follow-up question. Which jurisdiction? Because a lot of times people will forget that in our court system, and we're not unique and special, a lot of times people do not realize that we have a federal court system and a state court system. We have two different court systems. So I can select state, I can specify Ohio, but I'm not. I'm going to search all my states. And here, once again, I'm going to type in my free speech or freedom of speech, because they're interchangeable terminology. And I want to make sure I'm covering myself. And I could spell that and connector out or use the ampersand, Constitution. If I wanted to, I can do a date restriction, but I'm not going to worry about it because I do want to point out something. One of the things I want you to be aware of is that the coverage of this database, it varies by content. I just want you to be aware that legal, especially case law, is the oldest part of this database. It is not unusual to get cases all the way back to the 1600s, back to the 1700s. However, it will vary state by state, court by court. So over on the left side, using my timeline, I know that the oldest case that the system retrieved from my search is from 1864. Most recent is from this year, 2022. I also want you to be aware that the default for sorting is relevance, and you can always change that. So I'm going to do date, oldest, and we see that that case, which is from January of 1863, is actually from Illinois. Okay. So what's nice about the timeline is it's going to be reflective of your search results. So if you do any filtering, so if I come down here to my court, and once again, I can select one jurisdiction or I can select multiple, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to do California and Ohio. And we see that that timeline has changed. You can also use the timeline to create a date restriction. So if you forgot to do it at the beginning, it's no problem. Just start sliding this over and the year would change. And then you can use the actual little symbol of the calendar to get more specific. Maybe you don't want to start at January 1st, 2009. You want to start January 17th. So just kind of want you to be aware of that timeline. Now what I want to talk about is a critical part of the legal research and writing process. And that is what we like to call Shepards. If you're not familiar with Shepards, Shepards is a validation tool. With Shepards is actually two different things. It's a citator, and I'm going to explain what a citator is, and it is a validation tool. In the legal world, we can only cite to good precedent. We may never cite to bad precedent, meaning we only cite to good law. So as I tell people, you're doing research, you come across and just so you know, not only can you Shepardize a case, you can also Shepardize a statute, and I'm going to do both. You doing research, you come across a case, you really like that case. As I tell people, before you get too excited, you have to Shepardize it. You have to make sure it is still good law, because if it isn't good law, you cannot cite to it. You cannot use it. So I'm going to type in Plessy. I'm going to select my Plessy v. Ferguson. As we all know, Plessy v. Ferguson was overruled by what? Brown versus the Board of Education, the Board of Education of Topeka. On your cases, you're going to see some symbols. I like to call them the Lucky Charm symbols. You're going to see a red stop sign, a yellow triangle, a green diamond, just like the stoplights. Red, stop sign, stop. Serious negative treatment, may not be good law. You better Shepardize it. Yellow, there's some negative treatment. You still have a duty to Shepardize. Green, positive treatment. You still have a duty to Shepardize. That's just part of the legal research and writing process. We still just check the validity. So you can click on the Lucky Charm symbol, or over to the right, you can click on Shepardize this document, one and the same. So I'm Shepardizing Plessy v. Ferguson. And I told you that Shepards is two things. It's a citator and it is a validation tool. What do I mean by a citator? What I mean by a citator is it's going to give us a complete history of how that legal document was cited in other legal documents. So if I want to see every single case from the state of California that cited Plessy v. Ferguson over here on the left, if I start paging down and I click on this California, this will give me every single decision from the state of California that at one time or another cited Plessy v. Ferguson, just so you know. But I'm going to clear that. But like I said, more importantly, Shepards is a validation tool. Is what we use to check the validity to make sure that case is still good law. So over here on the right side, on the left side, We see overruled by. If I click on that overruled by, we know that, of course, Plessy v. Ferguson was overturned, overruled by Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka. And here is that language, that exact language that overturned, overruled Plessy v. Ferguson. This language is also a hypertext link. So I can click on that hypertext link, and the system will take me right there to the exact part of Brown versus the Board of Education that overturned Plessy v. Ferguson, so I can read it. But this is what's critical. Any language in Plessy v. Ferguson is rejected, meaning all of Plessy v. Ferguson is bad law. Like I said, most people, when they think about Shepards, they think about Shepardizing a case, but I do want you to be aware that you can Shepardize other legal documents. So going back to something that we saw before, typing in my United States code, using my browsing. I'm going to go into my Title I, General Provisions, and I'm going to go into Rules of Construction. And depending on one's age, something tells me that many of you students on this call, you probably were just a nice little star in the sky, twinkle in your parents' future plans when Bill Clinton was president of the United States. During Bill Clinton's administration, Congress passed a bill that became law that defined marriage between a man and a woman for the federal. Remember, federal laws or for federal. States create their own state law. So they passed a bill that became law that was known as the Defense of Marriage Act. And at one time, it defined marriage on the federal level as between a man and a woman. Well, this statute was deemed to be unconstitutional. So I do want you to be aware that you can Shepardize not just a case, but also statutes. So once again, if we look to the left, we see unconstitutional by. If we click on this, this will give us those cases that deemed that statute unconstitutional, which led to a few years later, the Supreme Court going, states, you can't do that either. We didn't allow it for the federal level, and we're not going to allow it for the state level. So I just kind of want you to be aware that you can Shepardize not just, a case, but you can Shepardize other legal documents such as the statute. I'm going to go back to my default page. And right now, I'm going to click on my advanced search. And this is going to take us to the advanced search form. And if I wanted to, I can search all of my sources, just news, company and financial, legal. I'm going to do legal. In the legal world, we divide our resources into two different categories. We have primary sources and secondary sources. Primary sources are the laws, cases, statutes, regulations, constitution. Secondary sources are not the laws, but we like secondary sources because they will lead us to our primary sources. They would tell us about the important cases, decisions, opinions. So I'm going to click on law reviews and law journals, but more importantly, I'm going to click on law reviews and law journals so I can truly search my law reviews and law journals. And when I'm searching my law reviews and law journals, I don't search all fields, and all fields would be essentially full text keyword searching. I search the title. Concept being, if my search terms are mentioned in the title, I know it's going to be more relevant. It's going to be more important. Let me do a show and tell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in my first box, free speech. And once again, if you're looking for exact phrase, put it in quotation marks. Second box, use my or connector because I want free speech or freedom of speech. I know they're interchangeable terminology. And constitution, which we did before. Going to search all fields, run this search. And right now you will see that the system retrieved a total of, let me do this category, 48,252 law reviews in law journals. Yes, a majority of these law reviews and law journals are probably going to be about this particular topic. But right now, and I was doing full text keyword searching, what I'm saying is that my search terms must be in the document. They could be anywhere in the document, but they must be in the document. Well, we know that the placement of a search term would make the document more relevant, more on point. So when I'm searching my secondary sources, I love to search the title, because if my search terms are mentioned in the title of that law review, that law journal, I know it's going to be more on point, more relevant. And just so you know, you can do segment searching, field searching in conjunction with full text keyword searching. So I could say to the system, hey, look through, look in the title for free speech and freedom of speech, but Constitution could be anywhere in the document. Or I'm going to do this. All three of my, free speech or freedom of speech and Constitution in the title and only the title. And you see, we went from over 40,000 to 36, where we know these are truly going to be about free speech or freedom of speech. So here we see our free speech, Constitution. Yes, my search terms, of course, are mentioned in the full text of this document, but they're not in bold and they're not highlighted by gold, because we told the system to only look in the title, no other part of the document. Constitution, freedom of speech. And like I said, we like secondary sources because secondary sources will lead us to our primary sources. They would tell us about the important cases, decisions, statutes. And once again, we have that capability to link to related information, related documents. Okay, I'm noticing the time. I'm going to stop talking because I want to see if there are any questions, concerns. I want to address, I've been doing all the talking. So I want to see if there are any questions, concerns, or comments about what I spoke about, what I'm presenting on. Well, I want to thank you all so very much for joining. I really hope that this training session was very helpful for you to get a better understanding of how to conduct legal research on Nexis Uni. If you have any questions, you have great resources at your academic institution. I always tell people, your librarians, they know their stuff. They know what they're doing. So do not hesitate to contact them. To Julia and to Brian, thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity. I truly appreciate it.